What is a missionary? The word missionary comes from the Latin noun missionarius and the Latin verb mittera. Missionarius was probably first used in the 16th century by the Jesuit priests who were sent out to proselytize in foreign lands and to thwart the growth of the Reformation and the church. Here's something that you need to understand. The verb mittera is the Latin translation of the Greek verb apostello. The word missionarius is the Latin translation of the Greek noun apostolos, or apostle. So every time you call someone a missionary, you're calling them an apostle. Now again, I want to be very, very clear on this. The office of apostle has ceased. But I just want you to understand the meaning of the term. Now, most of the time when we think of the word apostolos, we think of it in Greco-Roman terms. You know, how was it used in the Greek world, in the Roman world? And it's very, very accurate. It refers to someone who's been sent out with the authority of the sender. But I want to read you something from one of my favorite people on the planet, Sam Waldron, in his book, To Be Continued. And he's going to quote Ritterbos here, and it's an excellent, excellent thing to hear. An apostle is a sent one. Both in Hebrew and Greek, the word for apostle is derived from the verb that means to send. Among the Jews, however, shaliach, or sent one, had attained a very specific meaning. Ritterbos notes, recent research has shown that the formal structure of the apostolate is derived from the Jewish legal system in which a person may be given the legal power to represent another. The one who has such power of attorney is called shaliach, apostle. The uniqueness of this relationship is pregnantly expressed by the notion, and this comes from many rabbinic sources, that the shaliach of a man, the apostle of a man, is as the man himself. Now, in the New Testament, the Greek word apostle also possesses a similar technical meaning. Jesus Christ was his Father's apostle, Hebrews 3, 1 through 2. Thus what Jesus said, his Father said, John 14, 6 through 10. In a similar way, the 12 are his apostles, John 20, 21. To receive Christ's apostle is to receive him, Matthew 10, 40, John 13, 20. Therefore, an apostle was one's legal representative having power of attorney. Now, when the word is used in its strict and most proper sense, it refers to the 12, to Matthias, and then to the Apostle Paul. This ministry has ceased. Let me put it this way. It has ceased. Get that in your head. This is very, very important, especially today. It's ceased. Now, the apostles' teaching laid the foundation of the church, Ephesians 2:20, which can only be laid once. No man outside the sphere of the original apostles meets the requirements of a genuine apostle as set forth in the scriptures, 2 Corinthians 12:12. And the apostle Paul saw himself as the last to be called, 1 Corinthians 15:8. You say, well, why bring all this up? Well, you call them missionaries. So what does it mean? Now I want you to look at something else. In a broader sense, the term apostle is also used in the New Testament to describe those men who were sent out by the churches as their official representatives, messengers, envoys, emissaries, delegates, or laborers for the expansion and edification of the churches on the mission field. They are called, for example, in the New American Standard Bible, messengers of the churches. In 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 23, Paul refers to certain brethren as messengers, apostoloi, of the churches who had been sent out under the authority of the churches to collect the offering for the saints in Jerusalem. In Philippians 2:25, Paul refers to Epaphroditus as the messenger, apostolos, of the church in Philippi who was sent by the church to minister to Paul's needs. Now, I'm going to read you these two definitions. The apostles of Christ, the 12. The apostles of Christ were appointed and sent out under the direct authority of Christ himself to take the inspired revelation that was given to them to the ends of the earth. The messengers of the churches were appointed and sent out under the authority of a local church or a collection of churches to carry out a specific task delegated by the church. In the context of the Great Commission, it would denote one who is sent out by the church to take the faith which was once for all handed down to the saints to the ends of the earth. Now, are you starting to see that using the terminology missionary without it directly involving the local assembly is just not biblical? Because that's my point. That's my point. That's my point. I'm running out of time. I'm not even going to get through half of my notes, but that's my point. Now, I want to give you just 3 things here. Should we use the term apostle? Or should we say messengers of the churches or apostles of the churches? We should use messengers. Messengers of the churches, emissaries of the churches. Why? The word apostle is so identified with the 12 and their unique ministry that our use of the term would result in misunderstanding and the need to constantly explain ourselves. Also, it is not necessary because the word apostolos not only referred to that type of ministry, but to a delegate, an envoy, an emissary. Secondly, we should take the greatest precaution with our use of the term apostle so as not to affirm in any way the claims of the many false apostles who are wreaking havoc on the contemporary church. And if something isn't done, they're going to be wreaking even more havoc. I will continue to use the word missionary, but I have to admit, I prefer messenger or emissary of the church. Why? Because it communicates this biblical relationship between a local assembly of believers and the man that has been nurtured, trained, ordained, and sent out by them.